Without your candidates, you have nothing to promote to clients. Therefore, your sourcing ability and your ability to build lasting relationships with candidates is really one of the most important things that you first learn when you're trying to build a recruitment desk. Sourcing relates to all the behaviours and activities that you do day to day to generate a candidate pool that you can present to clients. And some sourcing activities enable you to generate candidates quickly, which enable you to put candidates forward for roles that are live today. And other sourcing activities may well represent longer term activities where you're building relationships with people over time. One of the key differentiators between agencies is not necessarily their understanding of their technical discipline, but really about their ability to find candidates faster than everybody else. Therefore, having a pool of candidates that you know are actively looking in the market, you've got a relationship with them, you know what they're looking for, you know what they'd like, is very, very significant in you differentiating yourself from the competition. The challenges that many resources or recruiters face when sourcing is how to balance that proactive approach to recruiting, which is finding candidates for jobs you may not have live jobs for today, and reactive recruiting, which is finding jobs that you've got live today. The market has veered very much towards focusing just on finding candidates for the jobs that you've got today. And the danger of this is that you lose the aspect of building a relationship with candidates. It's a bit like you're trying to build a business on one-night stands, where actually long-term relationships are what's going to leave you fulfilled in your career and your life's purpose. So when we think about resourcing, let's try and think about it not just about finding someone for a job today, but also about how we can use that relationship to build us referrals and recommendations, leads, and ultimately really solid placements that transition into client relationships in the future. If we look at sourcing from the client's perspective, whilst on one hand your clients want just the best candidate for the job, the reality is the harder they've seen you work for it, the more likely they are to value your service. And so if all you do is get a job spec from a client, post it on a job board, screen the response and send it to the client, there's very little perceived value from the perspective of the client. And if you're happy to work for 10-15% margin, or maybe even a fixed price recruiter, that may well be fine for you. If you're a specialist recruiter that's looking to elevate your service and looking to build value in your client's eyes, whereby they feel you're worth more than 15%, maybe even 20, maybe even 25, they need to see you've gone over and above, not just to find the best candidates on the market, but gone out there and found the best candidates in the market. The power of going to a client, I've got this candidate, and they're not looking with any other agencies, it's a really high value thing to show to your client. Because on one hand, all they want is someone to do the job. But the fact they know you've spent time nurturing that relationship and cultivating that relationship will make them feel that they've got something special for them. So let's look at the different sources of candidates that you've got available to you. Each one of them has the relative pros and cons and how it helps your business. And each one will help you build a talent pool that not only enables you to fill live vacancies, but also generate market information that helps you be successful as well. Probably the most easily accessible form of candidates are those candidates that have CVs on CV databases or job boards, such as Monster and Reed. Those are candidates that have basically posted their CV and gone, I'm looking for a job. The great thing about that type of candidate is that you know they're actively looking for a job, so they're unlikely to be counter-offered by their existing organisation or unlikely to accept any other opportunities. The other good things about those type of candidates is because they're active in the market, they may well be dealing with lots of types of agencies, which is on one hand bad. On the other hand, they're going to have lots of leads and market information about where they're going for interviews. And probably the best thing about candidates on CV databases is that you know where they're working at the moment is going to have a vacancy in 60 to 90 days, which should give you an opportunity to build that relationship ahead of time to pick up that role when people leave. The downsides of candidates from CV databases is that because they're active with all the agencies, they're much more likely to have multiple processes going on at the same time, which means whilst you might get them an offer, they may well have other offers at the same time as well. They may also have unrealistic expectations about their level of marketability if they've got lots of active interest from other agencies, but also they could be applying directly through organisations. The next most available source for candidates is candidates that apply to your job adverts. Now we'll look at a later date about how you write a really inspiring motivational job ad. But candidates you get from job ads are generally quite good. But the reality is that you're getting candidates that are, again, really active on the market. And if they've applied to your job, they've probably applied to other jobs, to organisations directly, and also to agencies, which means they're much more likely to have multiple offers on. And this means when you get to the later stages of your client process, if you're not on top with everything else they've got on the go, you're much more likely to get a job accepted by someone else. The good thing about these candidates is, again, they give you lots of market information. They give you leads about where they're going for interviews at the moment. And you also know that there's a good chance their existing employer is going to have a vacancy in the next 60 to 90 days. So it goes on your lead list to business develop, which should hopefully get you some more vacancies to place the other candidates that you're sourcing in. The third area, and one of the most underutilized in the recruitment business, is leveraging the existing database your organization has. The likelihood is you work for a specialist agency where you're filling a specific type of skill set day in, day out, month in, month out. And that means whilst you might have only been at the organization for a few months or a couple of years, your organization will have a big bank of candidates that at some point has been registered with them. And whilst they may be on other agencies' databases, the good thing is that if you can contact them and update them on their current situation, you may be able to reactivate them and get them actively looking in only your vacancies, which not only means you get less competition from other agencies, what you're also able to do is promote value to the client that you're leveraging your own organization's intellectual property rather than just posting a CV on a job board. One of the things you may have to learn by doing this is increasing your ability to search and query your existing database, whether that be Bullhorn, Adapt or iProfile, or even something like Recruit So Simple. But it's definitely worth learning that. So whilst all your colleagues and your competitors are looking on job boards, you can be finding those candidates that no one else knows about that are just sitting there ready to be activated. The fourth area of candidate source is about referrals and recommendations. And again, everyone talks about referrals and recommendations, but what no one really does is actually think about the value it brings to your business. What referrals and recommendations bring to your business is a group of candidates that have come with existing sets of credibility. You will already have a relationship with that candidate as you leverage the relationship that you have with the person that referred them to you. You're much more likely to get candidates that are exclusive or passively looking, which means they may not be looking for a job today, but they're much more likely to be activated by a job you might have in the future. So the good things is that you'll have a candidate no one else does. The downside is they're probably unlikely to accept a job starting on Monday or in the next week. So you may have to work differently with that type of candidate. Again, we'll look at how to generate referrals and how to work with those candidates a little bit later. The last source of candidates is through direct approaches, and that's where your activities on LinkedIn or other forms of social media, or even just leveraging companies' websites, come into play. LinkedIn is one of the best sources for candidates because really it's about a big job board. They're not saying what they earn, they're not saying that they're looking for a job, but what people are doing is effectively showcasing their skill sets and achievements that they've had in their existing organizations. And so candidates sourced from LinkedIn or other forms of social media, on one hand, may make you think you can generate candidates no one else has. On the other hand, it is the playground for recruiters. And actually, everyone's sort of worked out that LinkedIn's where you go if you want a job, but you don't want to tell everyone you're looking for a job. So using LinkedIn is really important for you. But what I'd encourage you to do is think about not just looking for people on LinkedIn, but how do you use other forms of social media such as Google+, Twitter and Facebook to try and find those candidates no one else can. One of the questions I'm asked very regularly is, well, which source is actually the best source of candidates, Alex? Which one should I go and get all my candidates from? Should I have all referrals and recommendations, or should I have all my candidates from job boards? And the answer is really about having a balance. Candidates from job boards and CV databases give you the turnover of candidates that you need to make sure you've got fresh candidates to put forward in front of clients. Referrals and recommendations and sourcing candidates through LinkedIn and building a passive network is really about building something that no one else has. And so my message is always about trying to develop a balanced sourcing strategy, whereby every day you're doing a little bit to find candidates no one else has by making sure you always ask for referrals and recommendations, but also to be putting regular time into writing really powerful job adverts, to be regularly searching the CV databases to look for those great candidates that do from time to time occur. At the end of the day, it's the blend that will help you be successful. And the challenge for you is just working out which percentage should be which. My personal preference is you need 50% candidates from referrals and direct sourcing, and you need 50% through the online databases and job adverts. But what I'd encourage you to do is go and speak to your manager and ask them what they'd like your balance to be, and then work towards that.